Arkansas, all sports. It's more sports.
Welcome in, everybody. Wes Moore, joined by the Arkansas State Red Wolves head coach, Butch Jones. And like a typical coach, he's early. Coach, I told everybody, we'll start about 7 o'clock tonight. That's the freedom that you have with this kind of a show. You can go live anytime you want to. And lo and behold, here he comes in about 10 minutes early. That's the coach clock right there, isn't it?
Well, you're always trying to stay ahead of time and really kind of gain as much time in a day as you possibly can.
How has this week seem like any other week, or does it feel a little different?
It's been extremely fast, I will say that. You know, it's exciting, but really it's all about your preparation. And with our football team, we have 72 newcomers on our football team. So you can't assume anything. So really, this is the first time that these individuals have actually gone through an entire game week. Against SEMO, our school didn't start till later on in the week, and then we weren't able to practice that the previous week. So this is actually the first full week of them understanding and playing a game, and their bodies are sore and tired. So everything has been a little bit new with this football team. When we ventured to Little Rock on Friday, three-quarters of our travel roster has never made a travel team or gone with us to Arkansas State. And we do some things, that are a little bit different and a high standard. So you can't assume anything. So this week has been big for us. It's all about preparation. But, it's like any game week. I think everything is routine oriented in sports. So you want to get into a routine, and obviously our players know what's at stake. They know it's going to be a monumental challenge as well. But you can feel the excitement as well.
That's what I was about to ask. Here in Little Rock, there is a buzz about the game. I just wonder in Jonesboro if you hear it, or is that you block it out and try to just put your head down and grind away?
Well, you put your head down and grind away. My car only knows from the Jones household to the facility, and the facility to the Jones household. So, we get in here about 6:30 in the morning and don't go home till about 9:30, 10 at night. So, the kind of the outside noise, my wife feels it a little bit, and I'm sure our players feel it, but as coaches, we're kind of in a shelter a little bit, and we're trying to, give our team every opportunity that we have to compete on Saturday.
Have you sensed it in the locker room? Are players talking about this game?
Well, yeah, just like any game, they sense it. I think, the biggest thing, and Coach Pittman spoke about it as well, is, we have a lot of players from a lot of different states on our roster, just like the University of Arkansas. So I think the big thing is them understanding the magnitude in terms of, these two institutions have never played each other before. And then the pageantry of college football, and what a better place to do it in our state capital in Little Rock. And I think that's what really separates us. And we always talk about, what makes us different, and I think when you really look at college sports right now, and everything is about conference expansion and expanding, and I think natural games, natural rivalries, however you want to call it, really have kind of gone to the wayside a little bit. And I don't know if there's another state that's doing what we're doing in terms of the two FBS Division I football teams playing in the state capital. I think that's what separates us. I think it's healthy for the game, and I think it's great for the state of the game in terms of football relative to the state of Arkansas.
Yeah, I grew up in Texas. I worked in Oklahoma, Louisiana. So those colleges all played each other. So it was odd for me when I came to Arkansas that they didn't play each other. You're kind of the same boat. You've been around. You've coached in other states. Grew up in other places. Was it odd to you when you found out Arkansas and Arkansas State don't play?
It was odd, and when you look at it, sometimes obviously the scheduling is made number of years in advance, but to know that we had never played before, that was really kind of interesting to me. And I can't say enough for all the people that have done all the work behind the scenes to really make this a reality. And I know that this has been a long time in the making. A lot of these individuals aren't associated with Arkansas State anymore, like Terry Mahajer, I know, was a driver behind this, along with many other people, Chuck Welch, Kelly Dampus, all those individuals, and really, to make this a reality. I'm sure, from the Arkansas side as well. So just very, very gracious to them for having this opportunity to do this, and I know our fan base is excited as well.
What was your favorite rivalry game to watch growing up?
Well, I think you just said it. It's all about really the dynamics of where you grow up, what area of the country. Growing up in the state of Michigan, it was always Michigan and Ohio State. And that was kind of the rivalry. That's really the only rivalry I knew. And then obviously when you go to different places and then, being able to experience the Iron Bowl with Alabama and Auburn, at Tennessee, we had really unusual because we have a number of different rivalries. Some people point to Alabama, some people, we had the rivalry with Florida, so you have different rivalries, but the true rivalry was Michigan and Ohio State. And then when we coached at Central Michigan, make no mistake about it, it was the Cannon Trophy. It was Central Michigan versus Western Michigan.
Do you have to treat those games, those weeks different?
Well, it's always a little excitement. Our players know what's at stake. I think it's important that they know the tradition and the history behind it. But again, you also have to stay in that routine and you have to stay in that focus, that comes with it, and then the preparation and the pride in your preparation and everything that goes into it. But you want to make sure that your players understand what's at stake. And I think even more importantly is what are they representing? Not only are they representing your institutions, but they're representing their states, they're representing our fan base, they're representing our administration. So there's a lot that goes into that.
What was it like for you to go back to Michigan?
It was really surreal. Actually, my son, who played here last year, who was a wide receiver for us, he's actually now working at the University of Michigan in football and recruiting. But to be able to go back and play the University of Michigan, have a lot of friends that are still there, and I think it was really um, one of those moments in time when we got off the bus and half their administration or their staff was waiting for me. The president at the time was the president at the University of Cincinnati when I was there. So from him to the director of athletics to all their support staff waiting at the tunnel for me. The best man in my wedding actually runs all of the University of Michigan facilities. So to see them and then some of the coaches that I grew up in coaching with that are now coaching there was very surreal.
Did you go to a lot of the Michigan Ohio State games growing up?
I wasn't fortunate to be able to get tickets. So it kind of became a tradition to watch it at home. I had never been to a rivalry game like that in person.
Wow. It's still the same. You get the feel watching it on TV and around town. Yeah, I think it would be awesome. I don't know if it'll happen, but I would love to see Arkansas State continue to play in the future. I don't know if it's once every 4 years or once every 2 years. I just the buzz that's going around town and the excitement for this game. I think it needs to keep happening. Would you like to see
What
it?
I would. I think it's really healthy for the state, and I think it's really healthy for high school football in the state of Arkansas too. We've made it a point to play Central Arkansas, UCA here. But yeah, I do. I think it's healthy. When I was at Central Michigan and actually just leaving to go on to Cincinnati, we actually came up with a round robin. Michigan is unique in terms of there's 5 Division I football schools in that state. There's Western, Central, and Eastern, all the directional schools, and then you have Michigan and Michigan State. And we actually put together a round robin where every school would play each other. The governor got involved. He was instrumental in making that happen. And I thought that was kind of unique at the time. They don't do that anymore. But I think, again, in the landscape of where we're at in collegiate athletics and college football, I think the more that we can play year in and year out, I think that's really healthy for our state and the game.
Pretty cool too. Also on Saturday, UCA and UAPB are playing up in Conway, so you have all the 4 state Division I teams all playing each other on the same day.
Well, again, we talk about how are we going to be unique? How can we stand out, amongst everyone in the country? And I think that's a great point that really should be publicized throughout college football. I guarantee you we're the only state in the country that's actually doing that on this weekend.
We'll get it out there then. That's our job. Coach, what'd you learn about your team Saturday? Good and bad.
Well, Yeah, there was a lot of growth associated with that night. I wanted to see how we would respond. Again, when you have 72 newcomers, never anything goes according to plan, and we didn't start the way we wanted to, and we were down early. We allowed them to possess the football, and nobody blinked. Everyone just kept playing. I wanted to see our connection, our style of play, our effort. I thought for the first game, I thought we played with effort. We need to continue to improve upon that. I thought we played with connection, but we played complementary football. We went on to have 35 unanswered points. But we talk about start fast and finish strong. That's something we did not do. And, we talk about playing to a standard and never playing to a scoreboard. Why would you let a scoreboard dictate how you play? And when our second group got in there, they didn't play up to the standard, and every rep is valuable. I think it was a great learning lesson for the players that got those reps in the fourth quarter. It doesn't matter if it's one rep, if it's three reps, if it's 10 reps, every rep is invaluable and it's earned. And so we spoke about that moving forward too. But I thought there was a lot of growth associated with that game Saturday.
When you were watching the game tape of Arkansas in their game, were you having almost some flashbacks? They were eerily similar games. The way you go out and score, Arkansas went out and scored, and then the opponents came back and scored, and just then you took off from there. But there were a lot of similarities, I thought, in those two games, eerily similar.
Well, if you think about it, really, I always talk about the first games are always the games of the unknowns. You never know how your team's going to respond. A lot of times it's first time of individuals running out there. How do they handle, it being real? Because now there's consequences for everything. When you're in training camp and spring football, if you give up a big pass, if you have a missed assignment or a mental error in practice, there's really no repercussions for it. Where now there's consequences, for your actions and for your performance. So I think there was a lot of similarities. I think Arkansas has really done a good job. When I really look at, spent 8 years in the SEC, have a tremendous amount of respect for the SEC, and they've built their team to compete in the SEC. They're big, they're strong, they're physical, they're fast. They've revamped their secondary. A very strong running back core. They've been able to add to the transfer portal there from a receiver standpoint. And obviously, the quarterback is elite. So they've really done a good job, I think, of recruiting to the SEC.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what your thoughts on Taylor Green.
Well, I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and I know he means everything to their football program, and rightfully so. He can beat you with his arm, he can beat you with his legs, he'll pull the ball down, he can turn, nothing into something. And I know he's a leader of their team, and they believe in him. And now he has a lot of experience behind him, so have a lot of respect for him.
And with all the games under his belt, it reminds me of what you have and the games that Rayner has under his belt. Do you see similarities between those two quarterbacks?
I do, obviously Taylon's straight green stature is a little bit bigger than Jalen's, but you look at for us, Jalen's going into his third year as being a starter. I think in the world of college football, that's an anomaly. I don't think that happens much more. So we're very fortunate to have him. I think he's continued to grow and mature. We've challenged him of being able to make the routine plays routinely. He's been able to do that, but I think both quarterbacks can keep plays alive. I think both quarterbacks are high vision quarterbacks, and I think both quarterbacks have a lot of confidence from their respective teams.
I'm expecting a fun offensive game Saturday night. Are you okay with that if we get a bunch of points on the scoreboard?
I think it's going to be a challenge. I mean, I think the other thing that's really hard when we talk about preparation is really mimicking and trying to mimic their offensive and defensive lines. We've tried to mimic a 370-pound nose guard. I don't think we have a 370-pound player in our program. So we've tried to put two players into one body and have them stand over our center and kind of be a zero nose. But I think that's been the hardest thing is, how can you really try to manufacture the speed of the game? How can you manufacture the size of the game? And then, I think when you play games like this, from an SEC level versus, a group of six level is special teams a lot of times. That's where the big differences occur in the overall depth of each program. So I think for us, the challenge has been how can we mimic, how can we kind of get to the speed of the game, the size of the game, and kind of the violence and velocity and the physicality of the game as well.
Once your defense got over some early game hiccups, were you pleased with the way they responded to that?
I did. I didn't like the way we started the game, and it's really been another point of contention with this football team. Is it's amazing is how practice habits can become game day realities. And we had a lot of things that kind of manufactured themselves throughout the course of the game, and we had seen them throughout the course of training camp. And so just, every rep is vital in practice. Every rep has to be a game rep. And I think when you're building a team of newcomers, and that's kind of been our standard. That's our culture. But really teaching those players of what it takes to compete, play in, and play out.
They'll be going up against a Bobby Petrino offense this week. What have you thought of his offenses, his game plans over the years?
Well, he challenges you. He challenges you in so many regards, so many aspects. I think the first thing is he always plays to the skill set of his players and to the skill set of his quarterback. And then they have so many different personnel groupings. So they force you in a sub defense with different things, and they're always, in it to create an advantage, whether, it's an angle advantage in the run game with the pin and poles and all the different schemes that they do there, matching their players up in one-on-one matchups, and then if you're in zone, the different flood concepts and different concepts and vertical schemes, and then the play passes with it and the screens and the quick screens, and they force you to play sideline to sideline. So with him, it's like they're always applying the pressure. They can go fast, they can go slow. They have fastballs. They get under center. They're in the gun. They're in the sidecar of the gun. They're in the pistol. So there's so many things that they force you to do from a communicative standpoint defensively.
I'm curious, you and Pittman, do y'all have a relationship? Did you know him through the years?
I
Got to know
have,
him?
I've really respected him as a football coach. He's been a long time offensive line coach, and you really look at Coach Pittman anywhere he's been in coaching the lines of scrimmage, they've been impressive. He was actually the offensive line coach at the University of Tennessee when I went there as the head football coach, and again, have a ton of respect for him wherever he's been. And obviously, really the Arkansas team has really kind of taken on his personality of toughness and grittiness. And so, he's an individual that obviously I've followed throughout my career and have a lot of respect for him.
You mentioned special teams a little earlier. You've got a good group and some returners to return the ball. Uh, feel comfortable, confident with your special teams?
Well, it still comes down to one-on-one matchups, and I think, where we're behind a little bit is the size matchup in the return games and the special teams games. So we have to win with technique. I think that's the biggest thing is out technique, out fundamental, out effort, all those things, and that's going to be a challenge because they are very, very good on special teams. They play really hard. They have good techniques. So again, this is a really well coached football team that we're playing, and I think I said it in my early press conferences. Arkansas is a team that will expose you. If you don't play with fundamentals and techniques, everything you do will get exposed. If you take the wrong step, if your hand punch is 6 inches off, if you don't run the right depths of the route, all those things, their talent, they will expose you. And so, we're going to have to play close to a perfect game.
Have you ever coached a game at War Memorial Stadium?
This is the first time I'll ever have been in the stadium, so I'm looking forward to it.
What have you heard about it?
Pageantry, history, all the great games. I know Peyton Manning said it's one of the loudest stadiums he's ever played in. So he told me that a long time ago, and I've always remembered that. So we showed a little bit video of the pageantry of playing in War Memorial and the significance of being able to play in War Memorial. So again, I'm excited to get in there and finally play football.
Yeah, I think it has a chance, and it's been a while that War Memorial's been packed, sold out, and had one of those kind of atmospheres. And I really feel like there's a good chance we have that Saturday night. And I think it's a treat for your players and Arkansas's players to get to experience that, and maybe we'll find
Well,
out how loud it is.
Well, Wes, I'm excited about our fan base. In this game, we had an allotment of about 10,000 tickets, and we have sold out our allotment. Um, so just, been really, really proud of our fan base and really um, gracious in terms of their support and their excitement of making the trip to Little Rock. So, we've done our part in terms of selling our tickets, and that's been great. And I can't thank them enough.
Did you get to watch a lot of college football over the weekend? Did you get a chance?
Well, when you play 6 o'clock game, you have so much going on. I was able to catch, some of the Thursday games, the Friday games, maybe the early starts on Saturday, but then you're so involved in terms of your preparation that you really don't. Then when you get home, it's about 11 o'clock at night. So I was able to watch some late night football. And then obviously, the Sunday matchup as well.
Yeah. It was a great weekend. I mean, that's the way to kick off the college football season with games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I mean, it was just I mean, whether it's the Notre Dame, LSU, Clemson. Coach, don't grade other coaches, okay? That your Dabo.
I've heard all about that, and in very Brian Kelly fashion, Coach Kelly had a response. I was fortunate to work for him for a few years and know him very well. So that was a very good ad lib response that he had. So that was entertaining for college football.
Yeah, it was. It was great for us. Is that a no with you guys? Just stay away from trying to stir it up with other
And
coaches.
I think each coach is different in and of itself. I think sometimes you feel you have to protect and stick up for your players and your program. And, sometimes it's all tongue in cheek and we all know each other. So sometimes it's having fun and razzling with each other. And I think sometimes what we say is kind of blown out of context too. So, people can have fun with that. But, I think really overall, this is a profession that pretty much everybody respects everyone.
And Lanning kind of got after Gundy too. You hear that
Yeah.
one? Yeah.
I heard about it. I didn't really I saw some of the comments, but I've been so focused on the Razorbacks that really haven't been able to dive into any of that stuff.
How about Friday night? You get to watch the Chiefs and their season opener and Travis Kelsey.
Well, I got a text message from them all on the plane this morning. But again, we have so many things, and I think that's what the fans probably don't understand is the volume of preparation that goes into it. Your game routine, your preparation with the players, all that. And, we'll be deep into preparation. We actually do have an event at the governor's mansion that I think really just kind of solidifies the state and the unity that we have. And that'll be just a very short function. But, we'll be ready going through all of our meetings and video study and coaches meetings and things like that. So I'll try to sneak a peek. I'm more of a scoreboard watcher than be able to sit there and watch the game.
Were you kicking yourself after your conversation with Travis and he made some innuendos about and it goes over your head? Were you just like, I could have been one of the first people to know?
You know, I don't want to be that guy. So I don't ever really bring up his personal life with her. I just, when we call, there's always um, he wants to talk about something or we're getting caught up or something like that. So, we talk more about his mom and his dad and Jason and kind of him being in shape and how excited he is to start the season. And he wanted to get caught up with, Alex and Adam and Andrew and wanted to see how Alex was doing coaching the tight ends. And, if he needs any pointers, have him call me, different things like that. And again, anytime you get a chance to catch up with him, it's great. And he means a lot to me, and not only to me, but my entire family.
And none of the kids wanted some tickets, some kind of contact through Travis
Well,
or
we,
one
we,
of her
we,
coach?
well, oh yeah, he took care of my wife and my daughter-in-law last year in Indianapolis. And that was a spur of the moment. I don't like asking for things like that. And my daughter-in-law obviously is a huge, huge fan. I mean, top of the line. And she sent me this heart heartbreaking and heartwarming text message at the same time, begging for tickets. So I texted them and said, I hate to be this person, but, and within 5 minutes, they were done and waiting at will call for them. And they drove to Indianapolis and had a great time.
That's awesome. Who do you like watching? I know you're busy, but is there somebody you like to watch their offense or their defense, just their game?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And we did this at Alabama, and and I did it at Tennessee as well. I've been at everywhere we've been, but there'll be about 7 to 8, maybe 9 college football teams that I will follow offensively because I have a lot of respect for what they do. And then there'll be some NFL teams, and I'll have some different quality control coaches assigned to ideas. And kind of my therapy that I like to take maybe an hour during a Monday and really kind of go through those games and kind of put together an idea tape. And then I'll walk that into the offensive staff and kind of review it with them and kind of the things of why, like, how does that fit our system? So that's a great question. You're the first person that's ever asked me that. So I will tell you this. I'm going to join your YouTube channel and I'm going to subscribe to your YouTube channel because the questions that you ask are right on par with everything. But to answer your question, yes, we do study other opponents and not other opponents, but other teams. And that's really, I like to do that. And then some of our quality control coaches.
I got to dig a little deeper. You said a couple of teams. Who are they?
Well, I think, you go back, obviously University of Texas with Sark and us being at Bama together. So, I like a lot of the things that they do. Um, I'll follow, uh, you know, um, UCLA a little bit because of the offensive line coach that we had Andy Kwan as their O-line coach there. I like some of the things Oregon does. So different things. If I know that we need to add a scheme or two or a concept, I pretty much are very familiar with what program will run it. So I'll look for it. I think Andy Reid is really innovative in terms of, getting the ball in the hands of the playmakers and the different jet sweeps. I think when you look at the RPO game in the NFL, it starts with the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts. So, you try to go to different programs like that you know people at. And then if you need the real answer, if you can't figure it out on video, you're able to pick the phone up and call them and say, hey, play number 32, I saw you had this versus quarters coverage. You were trying to this, and there's a lot of times where, the scheme may not work. It may break down with a pass protection flaw or something, the quarterback sacked. But when you look at the route combination, you really want to take from that as well. So you're not just looking at the instant success of the play.
Any hope for my Cowboys and Schottenheimer? Is the offense going to be fun?
We'll see. Another team I have a lot of I like to watch is the 49ers. They do a really good job of manufacturing a run game, and I know the different ways that they game plan. I like to watch the Packers. Matt LaFleur was a GA for us at Central Michigan, so know him very well. So, there's a lot of things. The Lions have been really creative now with their offensive coordinator going to the Bears, so we'll watch a little bit of that as well. And then sometimes you got to be careful because the pro scheme sometimes doesn't fit the NFL or the college game in terms of hashes in field spacing and different things like that. But, we'll see with your Cowboys. They got rid of their best defensive player. So we'll see what's going to happen.
Stop it. Stop it. Coach, hey, I appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. I enjoy talking football and just life with you. I appreciate your time.
Well, you're the best and wish you all the best in your endeavors and all that. And can't thank you enough for, not only what you do for us at Arkansas State, me personally, but really promoting the game, for the state of Arkansas. I think that's big. And, we're all ambassadors to the game. How can we continue to grow this great sport? How can we get people even more excited about it? And you help do that. So I appreciate you so much.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate you saying it. Hey, best of luck. We'll catch up with you later in the year and do this.
Sounds great. Wolves up.
Butch Jones joining us on More Sports. All right, coming up tomorrow, we're going to talk more about this big game, Arkansas State and Arkansas. It's kind of cool, actually. Braylon Mitchell, former Razorback, linebacker, and Artez Brown, a former Arkansas State linebacker, are going to join me. And maybe a little trash talking, who knows? But they're going to discuss growing up in Arkansas, never getting the chance to play in this game, but yet here this game is. And they're going to join me tomorrow night. We're going to talk more about Arkansas State. I appreciate everyone for watching tonight. It's been a lot of fun. Really big thanks to Coach Butch Jones for coming on and the staff at Arkansas State for making that happen. Have a great night. We'll be back here tomorrow for more sports.
All Arkansas, all sports. It's more sports.